Hello, and welcome to this presentation on how to create a research question for your research proposal. First, you need to do some brainstorming to decide on a research question. You can first think about something you're really interested in. Is there a specific area or sample of people that you're really interested in? What do you like about this topic? What do you already know about it? What do you want to know? You can also do a short Google search or library search to see what the common information about this topic already is. Any topic or anything that sparks your interest is a good place to start. For some suggestions for where to get some ideas, if you're not sure where to go, you can check your favorite news source or blog for any news stories that spark ideas in you. You can look back at your old textbooks and class materials, look for anything that specifically interests you or that you disagreed with, that you wanted to learn more about or wanted to create something that sort of showed an opposite side of that story. You can also skim through your social media feed. Look for any posts that intrigue you or that you'd like to disprove or prove. A great place to start is a thing that an article or a post somebody puts up that looks like it might be fake news. Is there a study you could design to actually prove whether it's true or false? Things like that are a good place to start. Once you have your idea, you can begin fleshing out more of the specifics of your research question. You want to eventually choose a specific area. It can be any kind of branch of psychology, health psychology, educational psychology, cross-cultural psychology, social psych, anything that interests you or a class you really clicked with when you took it. You can also choose a more targeted area within that topic. Self-efficacy, motivation, attention, these are all great sort of subtopics to explore. You can also choose specific variables in that area. So those can be things like self-esteem, depression, introversion, things like that. You can also choose specific interventions or causes. These can be things like new kinds of therapy, changes in legislation, new lesson types, things like that. And then finally choose a targeted sample people to study. This can be high schoolers, female bodybuilders, bodega owners, dog owners, anybody that's a more targeted population or sample within the larger population. Once you have your idea in place, you want to make sure that your research question has the following 7 components. It has a targeted sample of people you are studying. It makes a directional prediction. For example, self-esteem is increased by daily affirmations, or daily punishment decreases motivation. Make sure it's directional. Make sure that it's also based on the literature you've actually researched. If you can actually cite a study or two that was an influence for your research question, that's excellent. You also want to clearly explain the topic you wish to study and how this was justified by the literature. You want to clearly describe the variable or variables of interest that you are studying. You should have at least 2 variables of interest, and make sure your question is testable and appropriate. Now we're going to turn to some examples of good and bad research questions. So the bad example here would be, what effect does social media have on people's minds? This one's very vague. It's unclear about even what social media platform. Do they mean TikTok? Do they mean Snapchat? Do they mean Instagram? And what do they mean about people's minds? Do they mean it's affecting your self-esteem? Do they mean it's changing your perception of yourself? Do they mean it's increasing your feelings of loneliness? It's very vague. So a better example would be, does Twitter have a negative effect on the attention span of high school age students? This one's much better. It picks a specific social media platform, it chooses an actual sample of people to test, and it gives you a directional effect here, a negative effect. For another example, how can drunk driving be prevented? This one is also too vague. There are dozens of different ways to prevent drunk driving, and there's no real sense of what's being measured here. What do they mean by drunk driving? In what country or what state or what area? What kind of preventative measures are they actually looking at here? So a better example would be, what effect do more stringent fines have on the number of people who drive after drinking in European countries? This is more specific. It also gives specific cause and a possible way to measure the effect of the policy. So again, you're seeing the directional effect of a policy on the behavior you're studying. It's a little more targeted. Another example here is, does the US or the UK have a better healthcare system? This one's a confusing question, as even kind of double-barreled, because you're not sure whether you're looking at the US or the UK or how they relate to each other, and what do you mean by better healthcare system? There's a lot of different ways you can measure healthcare. So a better example would be, how do the US and the UK compare in health outcomes and patient satisfaction among low-income people with chronic illnesses? This one's better because it's actually taking a specific measurement. looking at actual health outcomes and patient satisfaction. Those are two things you can actually measure. And it chooses a very specific sample of the larger population, not just low-income people, but low-income people with chronic illness. It's a very targeted sample of the larger population that can actually be studied in a measurable fashion. Finally, another example is, how can you improve self-esteem? Again, this one's very, very vague. What are you doing to improve self-esteem? What sample is going to have the improvement? What will be the intervention? Like, how do you actually improve the self-esteem? A better example would be, how can you raise college students' self-esteem using weekly therapy sessions? Again, this one's better. It describes a directional cause here. You're raising self-esteem. You're choosing a specific sample of the population, college students, and you're also giving a very specific intervention here, weekly therapy sessions. The more targeted and the more specific you can be about your question, the better the research question will be. Finally, here are some additional resources. The top link is for a video with some examples of some research questions and how to write them. The next link here is a book chapter. This one focuses more on qualitative research questions, but the overall text here is really supportive around writing research questions in general. It's a good resource there. Finally, here's an additional link to some more links and support around how to write a research question and some other ideas of how to get some support. Thank you so much for watching this presentation. I hope it answered your questions. If you still need some help, please reach out to the library for additional support.